What's up, guys? Joe from the AZ Westside Wheelers here with Levi and Groot. And today we're showing you what happens when you take a little tap with a rock and it pokes a hole in your plastic skid tank. Stick around, we're installing a MotoBilt.
Hey, you're leaking really bad, really bad. You're, I don't know, fuel or something?
In all of them. So, yep. 2.5 there. 2.5 there. So what we're doing here is we are mounting up the lower plate. This holds, then this slips over your MotoBilt fuel cell and bolts it down. We ran into a bit of an issue though. So what we ran into was right here, there is body panel and stuff underneath here, and we can't get the nuts to the bottom of it. So what we're gonna do is
Are you telling me it doesn't have nuts?
it's gonna be nutless.
Okay.
But we got zerts for that, nutserts. We're gonna install a few nutserts and away you go. These will be nice and bolted heavy. These will end up with like a M10 bolt and a nutsert that will attach to this bottom plate. Boy, that did not want to go very well.
No.
Now I'm gonna have to double check my measurement. For this one, I'm gonna say 7/16. So here's a little tip when using one of these step bits, because as you go, you want small light taps of the drill bit. And when you do, you want to put tape where you want to stop. So we're looking for 7/16. He's going to put that tape on the very edge of where 7/16 goes. If you actually take it a little further, see where 7/16 is and it starts the new. If you go just above the new one, you'll stop perfect. So, in typical Jeep fashion, nothing ever goes as planned and it's never easy. So these right here, we weren't able to get a nut on them. Normally you drill the hole out, put a bolt and a nut and washer on the bottom. These, we were not able to get a nut and a washer on the bottom, so we drilled them out and put nutserts. So these are not going anywhere. These in the back here, we're gonna be able to drill those out. I got this one piloted. We're gonna hog them out, and then we will just put these bolts in. These 3/8 bolts, drop right in there, nut, and a washer. So, it's been fun, but we're getting it done. So now we brought in the Wrecking Ball Dex over here, and he's gonna wallow those out just a smidge for us, because the bolts are a little bit too big. So, once you put your two halves inside there, you need to open these up just a little bit to fit the right size. Your two halves go in, there's a metal half. You put your plastic washers on, and that goes up against the bottom of the tank, and then your rubber gasket goes around the top. Your pump slips right inside. We had to trim the float off of this one. We want our hoses to come pointing out towards the back seat, and the way the float was in that thing, the float was contacting over here on the tank. So we had to turn it around, and that wasn't working, so we nipped off the float. He didn't have a working gas gauge anyway, and it's not that big of a deal, so he just decided to alleviate it. Okay, things are looking a little different. We've got the pump installed. Our lines are gonna go over behind the seat. We have a couple of special grommets that we're gonna have to grab and install tomorrow. That way, when the fuel line goes down through that, it's going to actually seal off around it so the dust and exhaust doesn't come back up through there. We'll show you those a little bit later. What we've done here is we put nutserts in the front and bolts through the back, so this plate will now sit flush. This is going to have straps that'll mount it on. And the wiring, like I say, we'll have one of those grommets. We'll drill a hole that's going to go through. And then those grommets are basically, they just shrink down and try and seal around that to keep dust and all that crap from coming back in. Otherwise, you just have all that exhaust and the dust coming through as you're driving down the road. So, we're close. Not quite there yet, but we're close. All right, guys, so now we're back. We have these grommets right here. When the hose goes through, as you tighten these down, it will, see how it's sealing on there? As you really crank it down, it's gonna keep the dirt and the exhaust from coming out of these. These grommets are really cool. I'll see if I can't throw a link down in the description. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go right in here. There's a cross member at about 16 to 21 inches, roughly, from the back edge of here. So we're gonna go in and we're gonna drill 3 holes to fit these. And we're gonna do one for the return line, one for the pressure line, and one for the electronics. So, you cut the line. Your old line down underneath is going to be pressed in with this new line. They just butted together with one of these 3/8 fuel line barbs. And go get you some really good high pressure clamps and double clamp it. So what I've found is if you take the clamps and alternate them like so, it puts pressure at the top and the bottom. So when you double clamp it like this, there's almost no way for this thing to ever pop off. We had transmission lines popping off from a transcooler we installed, and as soon as I doubled them up, it never happened again. Also, another thing to recheck, when you crimp these things down on this brand new rubber, they're gonna seat in. Okay, so in about a week or two, you're gonna wanna go out there and you're gonna wanna re-crank them down just a little bit. Give it a half a turn, check them once in a while. This is a fuel line that's gonna be right back here with your kids. You don't want anybody dying because there's a leak and a spark. So check these clamps, check them often. Once you get about 6 months in on them, they will have seated on that fresh rubber and they won't go down anymore. Once you notice they're not cranking down anymore, you don't want to split the rubber and go crazy, but once they're not cranking down anymore, you're good to go. So what he's doing right here is he's just cutting an X in the carpet. And what that's going to do is allow us access to the spot below without it being completely gone. Okay, so here we are. It's been about a day and a half, not all the time working on it, of course, we work. So what we've had to do up here in the front is we put some riv nuts. In the rear, we just drilled straight holes through with bolts and nuts. The wiring, right back here, there's actually a plug behind this carpet, rubber grommet right there. Okay, so if you pull that up, this piece of the wiring loom is actually underneath the Jeep. This goes to your gas tank. This is what is plugged into your fuel pump. So we just pulled that back up under the corner and plugged it in. So now our fuel pump is being run right inside the cab with the wiring. If we ever have an issue, we can disconnect all our wiring right here. All he's got to do is open it up, boom, it's undone. Your return line and your other line go through. This is your vent, your breather. All of that goes right down through these rubber grommets we've put. These seal up around the rubber hoses. You tighten them down underneath and it actually cinches and seals around there. So we're not gonna have any exhaust, any dust, none of that's gonna come through. The install went pretty well. I mean, there's absolutely no instructions, so basically you're kind of on your own. If this is out of your wheelhouse for something like that, definitely take it to a shop. It took a couple of us thinking on a couple of spots to make things work properly and the way you want it to do, but all in all, it went really easy. MotoBilt did a really good job with it. Everything fits nicely. The seat will now come down and sit perfectly. He'll be able to reach up, fold the seat forward, and then flip it down. You can't actually flip it down and then fold it up like you used to. So, if you guys enjoyed the video and would like to see more on these guys' awesome YJ, hit the like, subscribe. Let us know in the comments if you want to see more of these videos. We appreciate you. Stick around for more. Okay, fire it up, see how it runs for the first time. Still got that alternator squeal, but hey, you know what? It's running. Pretty easy to figure out. You only have, if you have an issue and it fires and fires and fires and won't actually like start, make sure your hoses aren't turned backwards.
Come back for another one.
Coming in hot, 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 hot. Boy, that fuel cell must be working good because it's getting rowdy.